This is my best summer so far. Like I can tell the progress is just incredible. I feel better, I look stronger. The scale says I'm heavier. Everything is a green light.
That's the look of a man who should strike fear across the NBA. After going down with a devastating season-ending injury in just his second year, an injury he himself described as life-changing, he's returned with more hunger, more strength, and a mission to dominate like never before.
It's life-changing. In the long run, I think it's going to be very beneficial because even though I don't wish it on nobody, then lessons that nothing else could have made you understand.
Victor Wembanyama is only beginning to scratch the surface of what he can truly become in the NBA. If his latest interview and the clips we've seen throughout the preseason are any indication, year 3 could be the season where everything changes. We're not just talking about him making another leap into All-Star or even All-NBA territory. This is the kind of progression that could push him directly into the MVP conversation. Yes, MVP. What people need to remember is that even before his season was derailed by injury last year, Wemby had already transformed into one of the league's most dangerous players. It didn't start that way. His season opened slowly, and the critics were loud. Some doubted if he was really as good as advertised, questioning whether his offensive game could ever match his defensive dominance. One scout even said, "He's awesome on defense, but not impactful at all on offense. He looks like he's playing without direction." But from that point forward, Wemby shut everyone up. Over his next 36 games, he averaged a dominant 26 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists per night, while casually knocking down nearly 3.5 threes a game at a strong 37%. And these weren't just catch-and-shoot jumpers. At 7'3", he was hitting off-the-dribble threes, step-backs, and shots that only guards attempt. It was absurd. Year 3? It could be historic.
This is a heat check. You gotta be kidding me.
This is a heat check. And honestly, you gotta be kidding me, because what Victor Wembanyama is doing right now is not normal. It's not supposed to be human. And yet, here we are, already seeing history in motion. Because let me ask you a question. Do you know how many players last season averaged at least 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists per game? The answer is 2. Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo, 2 of the top 3 MVP candidates in the league, 2 names that define greatness in today's NBA. And now, do you know how many players have averaged 25 points, 10 rebounds, and at least 3.8 blocks per game in a single season across the entire history of basketball? That list is even shorter, and it's made up of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, and David Robinson. Legends, Hall of Famers, generational greats who all had MVP cases in those exact seasons. And yet Wemby, in just his second year, was already brushing shoulders with that caliber of production before an injury slowed him down. Which means when I tell you this isn't hype, when I tell you this isn't just the media blowing smoke, I mean it. Because this kid is doing things that line up only with the best of the best in basketball history. And now he's saying that he's stronger, he's smarter, he's more focused, he's heavier. He's spent a whole summer locking in on his weaknesses. And if that doesn't terrify the league, then the league simply isn't paying attention. Because what's coming in year 3 might not just be a step forward, it might be a leap into MVP territory. And if you think that sounds like too much too soon, just look at the evidence we already have. Because the numbers back it up, and the eye test screams it every night he steps on the floor. Now, of course, I know what the skeptics are going to say. They're going to argue, if Wemby was really that great last year, why did the Spurs finish so bad? Why did they end up with the number 2 overall pick and bring in Dylan Harper? And that's where context matters. Because the reality is simple. He got injured, and he can't play 48 minutes a night. But when he was on the court, the Spurs weren't just competent, they were legitimately good, with a net rating of +3 in his minutes, which would have ranked 11th best in the league. And when you break that down further, they were a top 10 defense with him and an above-average offense, meaning in the minutes that Victor Wembanyama was actually playing, the Spurs were performing like a playoff-level team. But the second he went to the bench, it all collapsed. Because without him, they weren't just bad. They were Utah Jazz levels of terrible defensively, leaking points left and right. And that right there explains why he was about to win Defensive Player of the Year, despite his team not even sniffing the playoffs. because his individual impact was that overwhelming. He was single-handedly the difference between San Antonio being competitive or being hopeless. And that's not something you can say about many players, let alone a 20-year-old who was still figuring things out. And the scary part? He's not even a finished product on defense. Not even close. Because yes, he's already the most valuable defender in the NBA. Yes, he already does things that no one else can do. But there's still refinement left. There's still discipline to learn. There's still strength to gain, and there's still experience to be had, which is why when you see highlights of him guarding a pick and roll, knocking the ball out of Drummond's hands midair, then sliding to cut off Kyle Lowry's drive before rotating back to swat Drummond at the rim in one continuous sequence, your brain almost doesn't know how to process it, because that's 3 separate defensive reads in less than 10 seconds. And he executed them all like it was nothing. Or when you watch him guard the paint as a big man, then rotate out to the corner and completely erase Jeremy Grant's three-pointer like it was a Nerf shot. Or when he blocks Kyle Lowry's jumper and in the same possession recovers to erase Caleb Martin's shot from behind, you realize this is a defensive alien, a one-of-one, someone who can bend the geometry of an NBA court in ways nobody has before. And that's why even players hesitate when they see him. Guards and wings will drive to the rim, spot him lurking, and then instantly retreat out to the perimeter because they don't want to challenge that kind of presence. And the truth is, they're right not to, because he will send them packing. But as good as he is defensively, there are still flaws because he can be undisciplined sometimes. He bites on pump fakes too often. He'll go for blocks that he doesn't need to, when just putting his hands up would change the shot. And against the absolute elite of the elite, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, he struggled. But let's be honest, who doesn't? There isn't a single defender in the NBA that can lock those guys down consistently, so to expect Wemby to do it already is unfair. But even then, you see flashes. You see how his length bothers Jokic. You see Giannis getting denied at the rim. And even Jokic himself admitted it last season, saying he was already noticeably better in year 2 than year 1, and that he's only going to keep improving. And when a 2-time MVP, a finals MVP, and arguably the best player in the world says that, you should probably take notice. And that right there is the next step for Wemby. He's already producing incredible stat lines. He's already dominating highlight reels. But now he has to start winning those head-to-head superstar battles. He has to start turning "he played great, but they played greater" into "he played great and he beat them." Because that's what makes you the best player in the NBA. That's what puts you in LeBron, Jordan, Kareem territory, when the best face the best and you come out on top. And the scary part is that he's not far away from doing just that. And here's where the rest of the Spurs come in, because this offseason wasn't just about Wemby getting stronger. It was about the franchise finally giving him the help he deserves. Because last year, we saw the benefit of pairing him with even an aging Chris Paul, a 40-year-old point guard who could still steady the game and set him up in the right spots. And now this year, they've added De'Aaron Fox, a legitimate all-star level point guard who is still in his prime, who can push the pace, collapse defenses, and feed Wemby in ways nobody else on the roster could. And while Fox does have a minor hamstring issue, that doesn't change the fact that this duo has scary potential. Because we've already seen what Fox can do with a skilled big in Sacramento, where he and Domantas Sabonis led the Kings to nearly 50 wins in back-to-back seasons, with Fox averaging 25 points and 6 assists while hitting clutch shot after clutch shot, consistently putting his teammates in positions to succeed. And now you're telling me he gets to run pick and rolls with Victor Wembanyama, a 7'3" alien who can not only roll hard to the rim for lobs, but also space the floor by knocking down 3 triples a game? That's unfair. That's a cheat code. And that's going to be one of the most dangerous tandems in the NBA if they stay healthy. And offensively, Wemby is still only scratching the surface, because last season he averaged 25 points basically off threes, transition dunks, lobs, and rim finishes. But now he's been working with Hakeem Olajuwon, bulking up, refining his footwork, learning how to use his size in the post. which means we could start seeing him punish smaller defenders with hook shots, dream shakes, and turnaround jumpers. We could see him running inverted pick and rolls where he's the ball handler and Fox is the screener. We could even see point Wemby possessions where he's initiating offense at the top of the key. Because the scary part is that there's no ceiling here. There's no box you can put him in. He's capable of expanding his game in a dozen different directions. And the league has no blueprint for how to stop that. And if he adds just one or two of those layers consistently, good luck, because he's already giving you 25 and 11 with 4 blocks without even having a polished postgame, without even being a finished product. So imagine what he looks like when he's running the offense through mismatches, when he's taking pull-up jumpers with confidence, when he's hitting Fox on pick-and-pop actions, when he's spacing the floor for shooters like Castle, Harper, Vassell, and Sochin, because suddenly you're talking about an offensive weapon that's just as unguardable as he is on defense. And here's the bottom line. If the Spurs can just survive the non-Wemby minutes this season, if they can just be okay when he's off the floor, thanks to additions like Luke Cornett and the continued growth of their young core, then the numbers suggest they're already a playoff team. And that was with year 2 Wemby, not this stronger, smarter, heavier, sharper version. Not this year 3 leap where he's openly talking about domination. And when you add Fox to the mix, when you get more development from guys like Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, Jeremy Sochin, and Devin Vassell, the Spurs aren't just a fun young team anymore. They're a legitimate threat. And all of it centers around Wemby, because he's the one putting the league on notice. He's the one making superstars nervous. He's the one shifting game plans every night. And if you still don't believe it, just wait, because year 3 Wemby isn't coming. He's already here. And the NBA is about to find out exactly what that means.